you guys for being here. You all know the news, so no questions.
Okay, we'll open up. Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Gene, you said last week you were gonna let the season play out, or at least there were a lot of games left you were looking forward to. What changed?
Well, I just felt like looking at the last couple of games, few games actually, that this team needed different leadership, so I made a change.
Move over to the left. Andy Anders, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, how tough was this for you personally? I mean, I'm sure you don't want to fire someone on your way out after this.
Well, it's hard, It's just really hard.
Spencer
We
Holbrook.
have good people, that care about people. It's hard. If you don't have a good person, you really don't care about the person, it's easy. But when you care about someone like I do, it makes it hard. I apologize.
I apologize. Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Gene, is there a process that you're gonna go through with Ross as far as getting the next steps done, and what does that look like, since he's still finishing things up and you're obviously finishing your own job?
Yeah, I've had a good communications with Ross along the way here about this issue, and share with him along the way the decision that had to be made, and talk to them about the process moving forward, and how I'll help them along the way.
You just talked about how, when you have good people, it's hard to do things like this. The saying is that the coaches always have, the list, no matter what the program looks like, you always got the list of who you would like. Has that been the case with you, and do you see this being, once the season wraps up, a pretty rapid process, or is this something that's gonna take some time?
No, that's a great question for Ross. I really don't know.
Doug Maurice, Kings of the North.
Gene, when you're in your position, how do you balance personal relationships, what kind of people are involved with the needs of the program and what's best for the team? What's that balance like?
Well, really the answers in your questions, our responsibilities to the program. And there's two of these young men that compete every single day. I don't care what sport it is, and whatever it is. My responsibility is to those young people and to the program. And so I just felt at this particular time, with 6 regular season games left, and Big Ten tournament, and whatever the postseason brings, a spark of energy was needed. And so, yeah, it's about the program in the end. And I have to set aside my personal feelings and just go with what's best for the program.
Adam Jardy, Columbus Dispatch.
Gene, about 2-3 years ago, you made a plan with Chris to build through youth and let that youth go through some bumps, but come out on the other side of it. It seems like there's still a chance for that youth to maybe get to the potential that you guys saw. Why did that plan not work? Why is it time to change leadership when you could still give that another?
Yeah, I think the young men have played hard. They've given a lot, but the reality is, with the body of work over this last year, I felt that they needed something different from a leadership point of view. Give them that chance. While they're young, there's a lot of minutes on that floor, a lot. And so they still have 6 home games in the tournament. So I wanted to give them a shot. That's what they have.
So you're saying, so you still believe in the talent on this team, just that talent was not being realized the level you wanted to see it?
That's right.
Over to the right, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Gene, you mentioned the timetable is kind of up to Ross, but what will be your role in that process as Ross kind of gets out
Yeah, so obviously we still have the remainder of the season, which I'm going to help Jake with and help navigate. And then when Ross gets here, as he shares with me his plan for the search, I'll be there to assist him and be very much a part of it, and in conversation and background information, things of that nature.
So, but it'll be pretty much completely led by him.
Yeah, but I'll be a part of it.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, how much input did Ross have in terms of coming to this decision? Did you talk to him a lot before you made this decision?
Yeah, I talked to him a lot, but it was my decision. I told him what I was gonna do. It wasn't like, what do you think?
And you made the decision a couple years ago to give Chris a contract extension. Obviously, that increases what the buyout is now. Do you have any regrets about making that decision at that time?
Of course you do. I haven't any regrets in my lifetime. I've been doing this a long time. If I could fix all the regrets that I have in my life, I'd fix them all. But certainly that's one.
Over to the left, Mitch Stacy, Associated Press.
How much more difficult is it to be a basketball coach at a Power 5 program now than 7 years ago when you hired Chris?
That's a great question. I think it's harder on all coaches in every sport now. If you think of the aggregate of all the issues that each coach is faced with now, the transfer portal, lawsuits, NIL, and uncertainty about what's coming relative to structure and model, it's harder today. The industry's harder, so it's harder for basketball coaches and all coaches. But the basketball coaches, they have different windows around the transfer portal, so it makes it a little bit more difficult.
How much do you think Chris struggled with all those changes? Is that
Yeah,
part of
I
it?
mean, that's a good question for Chris. I appreciate the question. That's a good answer.
Back row middle, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Were there things that you tried to change the course? I know you're not gonna talk about where he fell short, but was it the same kind of thing? And what did you tell him? I think we need to do better here, there.
Yeah, Clay, I'm not gonna get into that. I appreciate that. All due respect, but it's not gonna be there.
Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Gene, you talked about how it's getting harder now for college basketball coaches. Just what is the standard right now for Ohio State men's basketball in a changing landscape of just college sports?
Nothing changed for any of our sports. I think we 13 and 14 ranked in the top 25 right now. Well, we're getting ready to watch a great one. I mean, nothing's changed. All of our programs have the same standard. The blessing that we have at the Ohio State University is to recruit to this platform, to recruit to Columbus, the resources that BuckeyeNation provides us. So the standard for men's basketball is the same. Be in the hunt, periodically win the championship, and go deep into the postseason. That hasn't changed. And so that hasn't been accomplished. We need to do better.
Back row, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Gene, back, so straight ahead. To make a decision of this magnitude, with this amount of money involved, I assume that President Carter had to be involved. What were those conversations like? You just got to know him in the last 3 months. Just what were those discussions like, I suppose?
President Carter is unbelievable, obviously because of his athletic background and his understanding of our space. Conversations are pretty straightforward and frank, and he's a decision maker, which I like. There's no gray area. And so he agreed, he supported, and we made the decision.
If I can also ask, 19 years you've been here, so many great ups, downs, so many great things that happened, great accomplishments. As you bring in Ross and welcome him to this community and everything that goes with it, what are the recommendations that you're going to make to Ross about what can be done to improve the fan experience, the overall environment, and getting people to come back to the Schottenstein Center to watch Ohio State men's basketball? It just died on the vine in the last 3 years. What can you do? What can you recommend to him in your mind that needs to be done?
It's so funny. I mean, you guys are opinion makers. To say that it died on the vine.
Lowest attendance you've ever had.
Yeah, but still 8,000. I mean,
Facts
we can
are
debate
facts.
that all we want to, but at the end of the day,
Facts
this
are
is
facts.
8,000 fans at the last game that we won. So the facts are this. We have to have expectations consistent with reality. There's going to be games throughout the year where you're going to only have 8 or 10. You guys seem to forget that conversation from like 10 years ago. Reality is that's going to happen. It happened during Thad Matta's years. Go back and look at the numbers. There were 8,000 and 10,000 fans periodically throughout the season. However, to your point, there's gotta be 6, 7, or 8 games where we're close to that sellout or at the sellout. We haven't had that, to your point. That's really what you're talking about. It hasn't died on the vine. At the end of the day, we need to get better. We need to win. And my advice to Ross is simple. Product, place, price. That's marketing. You gotta win. You gotta win.
Adam King, WBNS.
Kind of going off of that, Gene, you've done a good job in your career bringing in good people that are also good coaches. I know you're not going to make this decision with Ross, but how much are you going to try to instill what it takes to put Ohio State back where they were just 10 years ago in the program, while
Yeah,
also
I'm gonna
prioritizing?
be all in. I'm gonna be all in with Ross. I'm gonna be honest, forthright, authentic, and genuine. And tell him that, we gotta find somebody that has the X's and O's and those talents and skills, but they gotta fit our values, they gotta fit our culture. So I'll be involved.
Guys, I'm gonna go just a few more questions over to the right. Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Gene, you mentioned the last few games, but 9 of the last 11 have been losses. Why was this game after Wisconsin the time you decided to pull the plug?
Well, it's something I obviously have been thinking about for a little bit. I'm so appreciative that Jake Diebler stepped up and accepted the challenge. That's not easy. I hope you guys appreciate that what he's doing is not easy. So my heart is with him to a great degree. But we have a little runway. We have days between now and Sunday. We have time to accept the emotions of this moment and adjust and begin to coach our kids. There's some games where you only have 2.5 days to recover, and actually less than that. It's a day and a half because you get on a plane to go somewhere. So the runway for him is the best that it could possibly be when you're this deep in the season. So we're so appreciative of him just stepping up and being a warrior and taking this on.
What do you see of Jake stepping in on the court? What do you imagine he'll be as a coach?
It's hard to imagine, except, I think he's a very good coach. I think he's gonna demonstrate, for the kids, just at the end of the day, that we just need to keep fighting all the way through. He's gonna do that. So I feel good about it.
Joe Nugent, WCMH.
With making the decision now, will it put the program in a position of strength in terms of the search, getting started a little bit earlier? I know Ross won't, he'll do it, but.
It's not a big game. You can do some background checking and things of that nature, but it's not a huge game because you really can't begin to talk to candidates till the end of the season. So, it's more about these 6 games and where these kids are and trying to give them a spark. And hopefully, it shows up on the floor. Guys, I appreciate the time. I've always appreciated you, so sorry about the roll. Thanks.
Thank you, Gene.
Appreciate you.
Hey, we're gonna get Jake Diebler in here